following presentation is rated PG and may contain coarse language and mature themes. Viewer discretion is advised.
If you could, what is one thing you would like to say to your past self?
Ooh. One thing? You are worthy. You're worthy.
That's nice.
Mm.
I'm Peter Anthony, and I'm inviting you to join me with friends old and new who have battled substance abuse disorder and have come out clean on the other side. What's it take to kick drugs and alcohol, and what's it like living the sober life? Find out right here on Recovery Road.
Hi, my name is Janelle, and I'm in recovery from alcohol and cocaine. I am from Sipekne'katik First Nation. I was born there, lived there for the first 3 years of my life. And after my sister was born, my mom took us away from there, basically to try to give us a better life. We were living with an alcoholic father who was abusive to us and my mom. So that was kind of the first time that I was ever exposed to drugs, alcohol, any of that kind of trauma. When I was 5, she married another man who basically did the same thing. So from the time I was 5 till I was 16, it was just chaos. At first, I thought it was normal. Everybody in my family, friends, alcohol seemed normal. Abusing alcohol, drinking at parties, having parties, all of that stuff seemed normal. Everybody did it. The part that didn't seem normal were like the outbursts at home, the violent outbursts. There were times when I would wake up, I was 10, 11, 12, I would wake up and I would hear my mom and my stepdad fighting, and my sister and I had rooms across from each other, and I remember more times than I could count running across the hall. She never really heard much of what was going on. She was very much a sound sleeper. And I would wake her up and I said, we need to go check on mom. I think it's because I was spending time with a crowd that was quite a bit older than me by 4 or 5 years. So they could drive. Some of them had fake IDs and could go to the liquor store. Some of them had people who were 19 and could go to the liquor store and get it. And I guess in that time, that's just what we did. We hung out in fields and drank. When I was 15, that was the first time that I had experimented with ecstasy. That's kind of the first time where I'm like, okay, I think this is a problem, or I have a problem. We were doing it every weekend. And what I can remember, the side effects from that lasted all week. They weren't even gone before we were taking like the next hit. And we weren't just taking 1 or 2, it was all weekend, still awake Monday, Tuesday when we were supposed to be in school. My whole life, like being First Nation but not going up on reserve, I didn't feel like I fit in on or off. Like I always felt like an outcast when I would go see my father and my family on reserve, but I always felt like an outcast off reserve in schools because I had a last name that associated me with being First Nation. And I think as I got older, specifically around the time when I started experimenting with drugs and alcohol, I felt cool. I finally felt like I fit in somewhere, like people like me. It was a really dark time in my life. I didn't use drugs for quite some time after that breakup. I got a new job, a new place to live, and thought things were going to be good. And one night, was out with some girlfriends, and somebody had some cocaine. That's, I guess, when it progressed to full-blown addiction for 5 years. The cocaine was number one, and then alcohol quickly became number one. And then the two, I couldn't have them without each other. At the beginning, when it started to be daily, I was starting to source drugs around lunchtime at work, setting up pickup times for after work, hitting the liquor store on my way. I would open the bottle before I got home, and by 6 or 7 o'clock, we're under the influence, heavily under the influence. And I could shut it down pretty early within those first couple of years. And then it became not getting any sleep at all. I think because I was still working full time, paying my bills, all of that, in my mind, I knew it was a problem, but I was still doing all of the things you're supposed to do. So until I wasn't doing any of those things, I'm like, I'm good. I can handle it. I can stop if I want to. I can stop if I want.
Did it come to a point where you couldn't stop if you wanted to?
I was using at work, and somebody had said something to me about finding drug paraphernalia in the bathroom. And I thought, okay, I can't control this anymore. I'm bringing it to work. I'm under the influence. I'm using drugs at work. Like this is not going to go well. And that was the first time that I had looked up online how to get help. Yeah, that's when I knew I couldn't control it anymore, that it was becoming a problem. July 9th, 2019, I got a DUI. I came to a roadblock and I had just relapsed that day, and I had only had a couple of drinks, and nobody would say that I was intoxicated at all because I was also using cocaine that day. And it was probably 12, 13 hours of that in my car listening to music, just avoiding people. They were looking for me. I decided to head home around midnight, and there was a roadblock. I took a breathalyzer willingly and blew over the legal limit. So I was arrested. My license was taken. My car was impounded. The next day, my car was repossessed from the police impound for not paying for it. I told myself when I couldn't keep up with bills, when I was kind of getting into financial trouble, like, this is really, like, I can't control it now. Like, what's next? How was I going to get to work? All of those things. I ended up going to treatment again that fall, and again in the winter. I was facing homelessness, and things got pretty bad then. The things that I thought that I would never do, I was doing. I thought that I would never steal. I thought that I would never do things with my body, using my body for money. I didn't ever think that it would come to that for me. Knowing what I know now, like, nothing was off the table. I was able to find some support through a community program, and they were able to find me a place to live about a half hour away from my home community. And I felt, as an addict, you already feel isolated, and living that far away from the people that you still care about, even though you feel like they don't care about you, I felt so much more isolated. And I was thinking about suicide every single day. One Sunday morning, I don't know what it was, I woke up after I had only slept a few hours. I had woken up and thought, if I don't get help, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die either at my own hands somehow, whether or not it's drug related or, by suicide. So I just Googled recovery home for women, and this beautiful place came up a few hours away from home, and I said, I have to do it. I emailed right away saying, looking for help, and I've been sober since. Yeah.
I want to go back to July 1st, 2020, which is your sober date. Tell me how you got help and how that came together for you.
Well, I knew I was going to detox that day, so I had everything ready. My mom, for the 5th time, picked me up, took me the 2-hour drive to detox and dropped me off once again. 5 days later, I went to a recovery home in Cape Breton. I'll never forget the day that I walked in there. There were goats and chickens running around, and I thought, what did I get myself into? I'm like, kind
Were
of
they
like
goats and chickens with substance abuse issues? Or what?
I think so.
Yeah.
At first, I thought that for sure. But it was a faith-based recovery home, and we had to care for the animals. We had to care for
Okay.
the goats. We had to milk the goat every morning. We had to collect the eggs. And I remember just grumbling about it, thinking like, I am not doing this stuff. We had group every single day. And one day, the executive director, she cracked me. That's what I call it. She cracked me. And everything just started flowing out. I started telling my story, my truth, admitting things that had happened to me, not things that I thought I did. It was stuff that happened to me, and how it affected me. And I was starting to put the pieces together of how it led to me abusing alcohol and drugs.
What did the work look like for you? Because like for me, it was almost piecemeal. It wasn't going to one place and doing this program, or it wasn't, going to this place and doing this other program. It was almost like a combo platter, for lack of a better term.
Early on in my recovery, the fellowships, AA and NA, helped me a lot. I will never discount the things that I learned, the friendships that I made, but it just wasn't realistic to me to go to 2, 3, 4 meetings a week and keep up with the rest of my life. And it was hard. I found it really difficult to go into a room and say, hi, my name is Janelle, and this is what's wrong with me, basically. And I found that I was living in like victim mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the things that I learned early on and I just kind of plugged them into different parts of my life. I got a couple of different mentors, started journaling, just doing things that I thought would feed my soul. And my mom said something early on in my recovery when I was struggling with trying to do it all. She said, Janelle, take what works for you and leave the rest.
Yeah. What does your recovery look like moving forward? I don't want to go too far into the future because we are supposed to stay in the present moment, as you know. But can you tell me what kind of life you're trying to build right now? And I know it's not just for you anymore.
Yeah. Well, since getting sober, I met the love of my life very early on, actually. Our paths crossed. We started chatting one day and never stopped. We got married last year, and in November of last year, we had our first daughter, Carly. So she's the joy of our life. I'm actually living the life that I always dreamed of and I didn't ever think was possible.
Well, that's great to hear, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.